Well, Lime Street Station. A little bit busy New Year's Eve. Everyone's going home by the look of it. Spend some time at home with the family New Year's Eve. Morning, officers.
Morning, how are you?
Everything, I'm good, thanks, yous.
Good, thank you.
Everything quiet today?
People are coming in, but everything's okay. How can we help?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. I'm just having a look around.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, see what's going on today in Liverpool.
Get some sightseeing in.
Yeah.
Before the new year.
I go around old buildings, you see. I'm a vlogger. Old buildings, historical buildings around Liverpool and stuff. So I've got a YouTube channel, you see, and I...
Abandoned ones, or? Bit of both, or?
Bit of both, yeah. Bit of both.
What's the channel?
What I've researched, it's called Policed by Consent.
Called?
Policed by Consent.
Policed by Consent, yeah.
Yeah, what I've found about a lot of old buildings, they go underground a lot. So in the past, years ago, there was some sort of mudslide or something where it's been raised up the ground to about 30 feet in the last 400 or 500 years.
Yeah.
And no one seems to know why. Because a lot of these buildings have got like 3 or 4 stories down.
Yeah.
Which and under the ground, when you go into them, they've got front doors what are under the ground, what have been bricked up. So the ground used to be 30 foot lower.
Anyone in particular?
There's an old building on the Dock Road. It's about 300 years old. And that's got stories underneath the ground. So it's whatever it's happened in the last 300 years, where the ground's been raised about 30 feet.
Right.
It's not a lot of people know that.
No, I didn't know that.
You'd probably be surprised how much is actually buried underground nowadays, you know.
Yeah, but you think the history books would say something about it, wouldn't you? But doesn't mention anything about any floods and slides. It's like the coast, Liverpool coastline, the river.
Yeah.
It used to be about half a mile into what it is now, you know. So the ground's been raised, but there's nothing written down in history about it to say that it's been raised and why it was raised. You know what I mean? So I've been trying to find out.
Get yourself over into the library, into the archives.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in there. That's where I get a lot of my information from the books in there.
Right, yeah.
But there's a lot of books now, older books, what have gone. They've all gone off the shelves. It's like they're trying to hide the history from us.
Making way for new ones, I imagine, are they?
Yeah, the New World Order, eh?
Oh, I don't know about that, eh?
Have you heard about that?
I'm not into all that sort of stuff. But that's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about the old history of Liverpool.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you lot in uniforms are on the other side of the fence for this New World Order. That's why you're not interested in it. Because you think you're all safe. But did you know that there's thousands and thousands of young men from countries around the world, and they're putting them up in hotels, and there's people being thrown out of the hotels to let these people in, and they're paying for this. These people are coming into these hotels saying they're refugees, but they all seem to be young men in their 20s and 30s, and they're getting paid for by us. Do you know what I mean? And no one's asked about that. So why are they bringing all these foreigners in?
That's above our heads, isn't it?
I'm
sure the government have got plans, haven't they?
They've got plans, they've got agendas, haven't they?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying...
But anyway, what buildings are you going on to looking at now?
Oh, I don't know, just see what I come across when I'm walking around.
Have a nice day.
Anything in particular?
Yeah, no, just look for old buildings and then I'll see about them and I'll find out about them and then I'll go and look up at the library, see if I can see any history about it.
The city's old enough, isn't it? So...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, 800 years, isn't it? Since Liverpool, but do you know Liverpool? You know the villages around Liverpool? I read a book called The Lost History of Villages of Liverpool. You know Liverpool, right? Started off as a village because of the monastery what was in Birkenhead, and they had a boat service getting people across, and that's how Liverpool started, which was about 1,500 years ago. But Liverpool as a city is only 800 years old.
Yeah.
But all the little villages around Liverpool, they've been swallowed up by Liverpool when they were there 1,000 years before Liverpool.
That's like you go down to London, all your big, all the Buddhas now in London.
Yeah.
They were villages.
They were small villages.
200 years ago, aren't they? So.
Well, that's how Liverpool started years later.
Yeah.
Like Everton Village, West Derby Village, and Crosby and places like that. They were all started by the Vikings then. Viking villages. Anything got ending in BY. That gives you a bit of a clue that the Vikings started that village, which is over 1,000 years ago. You know what I mean? And Liverpool didn't exist then
No.
until about 900 years ago.
Was it King John? Was it? I think.
Yeah, that was no, that was a bit later on. That wasn't it. King John, when was that? 15th century?
No, I don't know. But I just remember reading something that someone signed.
The Magna Carta?
No, nothing to do with that.
No,
it was something to do with granting Liverpool its city status.
Yeah, do you know about the Magna Carta?
No, only what I know, yeah. But again, we're not talking about the Magna Carta, are we? We're talking about the old history of Liverpool.
Oh, I don't know. I just thought we were talking about anything, just having a conversation.
No, I was just interested in your old building conversation.
Oh, right. Well,
rather than looking down, look up as well.
Yeah.
Because everybody's looking straight ahead rather than looking up.
Yeah.
You see an awful lot of history.
I look up as well and noticed all the spraying they're doing in the sky.
Yeah.
I've contacted the council about that.
Right.
And I asked about.
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about the buildings, because we're still talking about the buildings, aren't we? So if you look, when you're walking around, and obviously you're interested in what's beneath the buildings, look at the architecture as well, because I don't think people look enough at the architecture on the other parts of the building.
Some people don't even notice buildings, mate. So. I do. I've been a builder most of my life, so...
Is that your trade, is it?
Yeah, well, it was. I'm retired now. I'm nearly 60, so I'm retired. It's getting too old for all that hard work. So I just do a bit of auditing now and do my YouTube channel. Makes me a bit of money, like, you know. Makes me more than what I was doing in the building, actually. So I've got my videos monetized, and if I get a lot of views on them, I get advertisements on them, and I get paid from that as well. So it all adds up, doesn't it? It's the new way of earning money, I think. Technology, isn't it?
I think everyone's cotton onto that sort of idea, isn't it? Technology, you know.
Yeah.
There's different ways of making money on the internet, isn't there?
A friend of mine made £40,000 last year in 9 months. So.
Well, doing videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
Similar to what you do, is it? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. Yeah. He does a lot of he audits police stations and that, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And he gets a lot of questions about this badge, what you wear, this gang badge. A lot of the public don't like that, you know. They call it a gang badge. They think you're all a member of a gang who wear that badge. So
obviously, people are entitled to what they want to believe, but
yeah, well, it's true, isn't it?
For me,
what does it signify to you?
To me, it signifies those who have been harmed or lost their lives in the execution of their duties.
Yeah.
That's what I symbolise.
Well, why isn't it in the proper colour? Why do you have to have it in black?
It's just the way
what it is. It's a defaced flag, which is against the law to deface the flag, you know, and especially wear it on a policeman's uniform. So there's a lot of the public opinion on it is they don't like it. They want the police to remove it or wear the proper flag.
I've not had anyone come up to me and say that they want me to remove it. But.
No, well, if you go on YouTube, right, and put in a few of the channels, police by consent, like my channel, and have a look at the comments about the badge. There's another fella called Live Free.
Live Free?
Yeah, he's got a channel, Bear Britain Audits, and a lot of people always mention that flag, and they call it the gang flag. Do you know your checkered?
As of yet, I've not had anyone say anything about it.
No, do you know what this checkered flag, this checkered thing is on you?
One, yeah.
Do you know what that's to do with and what it signifies?
I believe it's from the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah, Scottish Rites Freemasonry. It's the checkers of the Scottish Rites Freemasonry. That's what it is.
I don't know. I just thought it came from the Scottish military.
No. Freemasons, Scottish Rites Freemasonry. See what it is, right? A while back, what they done, they corporised the police force and they turned them into a private corporation. So that's why on your warrant card you've got police officer and you also have police constable underneath. Well, the reason you've got to be a police constable because you're public by the public funding pays your wages to be a police constable, but also you're acting as a private corporation called police officers, which is an office of the Vatican, basically. And like what I was going to say before about the Magna Carta, there's 4 different Magna Cartas. The first one from 1215, it got repealed by the Pope. So how can the Pope, right, in England, who's a sovereign country, right, how can the Pope repeal a contract with the people and the barons, with the monarch? What's that got to do with Rome and the Vatican? It makes me wonder as well, and I can't get an answer to that.
As far as I'm aware, up until the 16th century, it was a Catholic country, wasn't it? And the church had a very bigger hold and grasp on society back in them days than what it does.
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is now.
But
So
yeah, like I said, the Vatican basically is the head of the Roman Empire. Did you know when the Romans come here? Do you know what this country was called? It had a couple of names. There was different parts. It was Mercia, which like where the River Mersey is named after.
They're kingdoms, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. And there was Albion, which is the southern part. But when the Roman emperor come here, the empires come here, they changed the name to this country and they called it Britain. So when you say what's your nationality and you say British, you acquiescing to being British is under the Roman rule. See, the Vatican, the Roman Empire, it didn't fall, and it goes back before that up to the Babylonians, which was about 8,000 years ago. And each time the Babylonian Empire, which started in Tartaria, which is part of Russia and China now, right? That's where the empire started, and it grew and it grew and it grew into the Greek Empire, and they changed the name, and it went to the Roman, it changed the name. And all these empires, the same bloodlines go back to Tartaria and the Barbarians, the Babylonians, sorry. And they just changed the title, but the same bloodlines, what's been running the world. And now they're in America. And you know when York was the Roman capital of Britain, right? When they discovered America and they went over there, the Romans, they went to America, and then they called it New York. It's the New York, the new empire place. Do you know why it's called the Empire State? So you know what I mean? It all tells you what they're doing, you know.
What we now know as New York.
Yeah.
Was owned by the Dutch.
It was owned by the Dutch. No, you can't own land, you know.
It was owned by the Dutch, and that's
yeah.
It was called, I believe, New Amsterdam. And then when it was gifted or sold, or however you want to put it.
Well, you know, nobody can own land. God's creation, nobody can patent or own something what's created by God.
You know, sort of the spirit of what I meant by it. So.
Yeah. Well, do you know Australia? That was founded by the Dutch hundreds of years before we did, and it was called Terra Australis, which means terra, not like territory, right? You know when you say extraterrestrial. Well, what extraterrestrial actually means in the correct sentence structure is from another territory. So it doesn't mean from space. What people they think an extraterrestrial or alien, which alien comes from the word ally, with the N on the end. Yeah.
The little green man in his little spaceship.
Yeah.
Well, I also understand aliens to be somebody not from the country that you're in now. So someone not from.
Yeah. From some. It basically means from somewhere else.
Yeah. So from France or from Germany or.
Yeah.
You could class them as aliens.
Yeah, or from somewhere on the other side of the ice wall. See, there's a lot of people now have been looking into this. You know, the ice wall what surrounds the world. And
I've not heard of the ice wall.
No, Antarctica.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an island on the bottom of the earth. There's been many expeditions where people have tried to sail around it, and they've been sailing for like 3 or 4 years and never passed the same coastline twice. So what they've come back and said is like we're surrounded by ice. We're not on a globe. We're on a flat plane, right? And that's where the word planet comes from. See, plane, and that's where they played the planet. And what you just put an end on the end, plane territory or terrain, flat terrain. That's where the words come from. People don't know the Old English, and that's another thing. What people don't know, we didn't speak English in this country. The Romans, they introduced this language with 2 different definitions. And there's no, like the black legal definition is what used people speak, legalese. Well, that's defined as a language other than English, even though it sounds the same. The words sound the same when it's spoken, but they have different definitions. It's the Romans introduced that so that they could deceive people with the language, and that is going to be the language of the Roman Empire, of the world, which was still under the Roman Empire. They just moved to America, to New York, the new base, the Empire State. It tells you everything they've got to tell you, because they've got to be honourable, you see. You've got to work it out yourself. Even the Bible was commissioned by Constantine, Roman Emperor Constantine. He commissioned the Bible to be written, and he took all the books from the Old Testament, all the religious books and text. He put them all into one book and called it the Bible. And you got the version, the New and the Old Testaments. Well, a Roman emperor commissioned that to be written to get all the people who followed Jesus onto the Roman side, because they were against him, you see. So So they deceived the people by thinking, they're following Jesus. And it was all a big a conspiracy what they've done to get Christians who followed Jesus onto their side. And it did work, it's the fastest growing religion, isn't it? Christianity in the world. And that's the Romans introduced it. Constantine, a lot of people don't know the real history, because they hide that from you. They don't teach you nothing like that in school. I never went to school, mate. I left when I was 10. And I couldn't even read and write until I was in my 20s. I married a school teacher, and she taught me how to read and write. And then I started reading books. I spent a lot of time in the library reading old books. A lot of these books have gone off the shelves now, I don't know why.
You have to speak to the council, whoever runs the library that you go to.
Yeah, in the main one here in town, over the road there. But they seem to be hiding a lot of the history from us for some reason. You know what I mean? People don't look into this. People listen to the authorities and they tell them that, and they just believe it without questioning it or challenging it. Well, all my life I've challenged what everyone says. I like to know what the truth is and not what people's opinions are. Because even the word history is his story. It doesn't mean the facts of the past. It just means somebody's story from the past. That's where the word comes from, his story, his story. See, the language was derived to deceive people.
One way of looking at it, yeah.
It's fact, actually. I've looked it up. I've researched it for years. And you didn't know about the two different definitions of the English language and how it was introduced here by the Romans, by Constantine. No, see, just follow orders. That's another thing as well about following orders. Remember the Germans after the war, and they all got executed? Well, the ones who followed the orders were people like yous. But the ones who give the orders moved to America, and they moved to Britain, and they carried on this communist agenda, the Nazi agenda. And it's repeating itself, history. If you go